All right, welcome on back, everybody, to another episode of The Release Valve and Mental Warfare. I'm your host, Sean Hanlon of The Release Valve, and I'm joined with Kyle Spain of Mental Warfare. And we are joined for a... It's hard to say that it's a three-peat because we don't have that first one, but you technically you're our three-peat, our first three-peat guest. We are joined again by Kevin Johnson.
Man, thanks for having me back, guys.
Oh, a pleasure to have you. Thanks for coming back on. Thanks for coming back on and giving this this movement some more juice, you know.
All right, you guys are doing it. I think I shared did I share with both of you guys the stats on how many people start a podcast, how many people get past episode 1, how many people get past episode 7?
But you guys are
did you send that to me? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I got those stats. Did you send it in the messages? But I'm not sure. I'll have to check that out.
I may have sent it to Sean only.
Yeah, you sent it to me. Man, that is a wild stat. And talk about needing that kind of a boost. Like the timing of that you send me that message was so perfect. And I loved it because it was random. Because it's not like we were in the middle of a conversation that you sent that to me. But I was having one of those days where, you know, when we don't do enough episodes, where I'm not on here enough, I start to get down a little bit. I start to, you know, question, you know, what I'm doing and if this is the right thing and all that type of stuff. And I truly, I kept saying it to myself throughout the day, like, nah, you know, stay positive, stay positive, stay positive. And lo and behold, I get that message about, you know, what was it, episode 3 or, you know, 3 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's literally like 1% gets past that.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And
1% gets
said,
past,
you know,
which episode?
3 episodes, gets past recording 3 episodes.
And then it was like
something like that.
Episode 10 is like another 1%. It was some crazy.
It was something
stat.
Wild. I'll have to go back and take a look at it.
Wow, and I haven't, and I just jumped back on, and that's so crazy. I think I have at least 10 episodes. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing too bad.
Right. You know, so you're in good company, though, right?
Man. I find that interesting, and this is probably, I mean, a little bit off topic of what we're supposed to be talking about, you know. But the thing is, I'm gonna have to give glory to God on that, Sean. You know, so I have to give God His credit on certain situations like that, because it's oftentimes where we're feeling discouraged, in those moments, you know, where God comes in and He keeps us encouraged, and you call it perfect timing, and I call it God timing. With KJ sending you that message and giving you that type of encouragement. But I feel like the difference, and I'm not saying that every other podcast doesn't have meaning or purpose, but this is beyond just trying to get views and grow the podcast itself, right? This is about mental health, about our journey of trying to be the best people we can be, coming out of that funk of discouragement and depression of all that stuff, and living a life of peace and happiness. So there's so much meaning behind this as to why we're able to keep this thing going, right? So
exactly.
That being said, KJ, again, welcome back. You're on a new challenge, as you've said. Please explain.
Yeah, well, the next challenge I'm taking part in is Moab 240. So it's a 240-mile race out in Utah, which, I mean, even saying that, it's crazy. It's like there's 2 different
So this is the most you've ever done?
Yeah, 240 is the most. So Tahoe was supposed to be 200. It came in, people were saying like 220 miles is what that was. So this extra 20.
Okay. An extra 20. Wow. How do you think that's going to be? How impactful do you think that extra 20 is going to be, in contrast from your previous training?
The course is definitely different. You know, Tahoe's course is high Sierra, high altitude. The whole time you're above like 4,000 or 5,000 feet elevation. You get up to 9,000 feet. Where like this Utah course is a little more gentler starting out. I mean, still, I think it's like 28,000 feet of elevation gain. I mean, so I'm still gaining some elevation in this course, but hopefully hopefully it's going to be a little bit faster than the Tahoe run.
Okay. So, how are you preparing differently for this race? Or what are you adding to the training
Yeah,
to make sure that we're,
yeah, definitely more stretching. Actually, probably a little less running. So I just did a 100-mile run about a month ago, and kind of that concept of I don't need to be as like you get hard on yourself. Like every day I gotta hit this mile marker, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna see how my body feels and go with that, and still putting
yeah.
in good amount of work because I want to show up. Like when I showed up to Tahoe, so it was my second time doing it. The first time I DNF'd. When I showed up to Tahoe, like my wife looked at me the second time. She's like, "Man, you look so calm." And I was calm because I did the work. Like I knew what I
Yeah,
did.
you were confident.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I remember,
Repetitions.
so the hotel we were staying at looked out at the starting line, and I sat there, and like the first time I kind of had imposter syndrome, like, I shouldn't really be here. What am I thinking? Where like the second time is like, yeah, I deserve to be here. Like
Right.
I put in that work.
It's kind of, it's I find that I'm going to go a little philosophical on you guys a little bit. How relatable that is to life. How often are we putting in that work and doing enough and fill in the blank, right? And
Man,
the confidence
almost-
that you get from that.
I'm almost upset that you said that. I'm almost mad that you brought that up because I literally wrote in my notebook that if you looked, I looked at the time. I'm like, I'm writing that down. That's a huge point. He put in the work, and so now he's reaping the benefit of that work that he just put in, right?
Right. But what comes with like you said, Kevin, the anxiety of not doing enough,
Right.
and the feeling that you get, and how you try to. I feel like a lot of us try to justify why we didn't do enough, and then at the end, when once whatever is said and done, you get that feeling of you're just upset, right? Whether you can identify what it is or not, you just get a sinking feeling, as opposed to whether you failed or whatever. But when you do that work, it almost doesn't even matter where you place or how good you do. You just feel good knowing that you did enough, and whatever comes, whatever it is meant to be.
Man, I have to say, like, this is just amazing. This is mind blowing. Giving credit to God again. What you said is, I've been thinking about these quotes, and I'm going to post it on the Instagram one of these days. And there's pretty much, if you had two options, either the pain of growth or the pain of regret, right? And so through that pain of regret, you can pass it off. You can be like, oh, I'm not going to want to do it. At the very end of the day, you still feel the effect of not doing it, right? And at the very end of the day, long term, whatever case, however long later down the line, you're going to continue to feel that pain of regret versus going through that pain of growth and then reaping the rewards of your labor, right? Because that's essentially what you're doing, right? You went in there confidence. And this, like you said, Sean, philosophical, this applies to everything that we do, everything that we have a goal, right? Any goal that we're trying to achieve. Right, you put that work in, you put the repetitions in, and even with the repetitions, you just do it, and with that, knowing that in the end goal, there's going to be some type of reward, right? We talked about success is inevitable if you're putting in that work, right?
Right.
So I just love how we're tying this into the mental health of all of this. I love this, absolutely love it. Continue, please.
Well, and I would say the pain of regret is almost, I would say, is worse than the pain.
Yeah, that's a double whammy.
Because like when you're not putting in the work, and like
You feel it.
Yes, it'll be an underlying thing that, yeah, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I'm not sure exactly,
Right.
or I'm not sure if I did enough.
Right.
Right. It's
That
something in your heart.
festering feeling. It's somewhere in the back of your mind, somewhere. Whether the front of the mind is denying it or justifying it or whatever, but somewhere in the back there, it's lingering. Like you said, Kevin, when you've done enough, and that feeling that you get, even when you justify why you weren't able to do whatever it is that you were looking to set out to do, right?
Yeah.
Even if you justify it, there's still that feeling. You're not
still
satisfied.
that feeling of regret.
It's not like you justify it and you're like, all right, cool, I'm cool with that. Like, no, there's that lingering feeling of like, man, I didn't do enough. I did that feeling of that's where the feeling of failure is at, right? Not when you actually try something and don't succeed. But
exactly. That was another thing that I had thought about too, is like the two types of failure. You have failing trying to succeed or failing to execute at all. Like just failure to start, failure to do it. Because then you think about how many times people want to go to the gym. They don't go to the gym and they don't feel great about not going to the gym versus going to the gym being hard to get to the gym. But after you go to the gym, you always feel better.
Oh, always.
Right. So
yeah,
always. But you always have that underlying, and it may be subconscious, underlying feeling of regret when you don't go to the gym. And even so, it kind of like set your day off like we talked about, right, Sean, with, setting your day up with that type of energy, because it kind of just trickle effects and domino effects for the rest of your day. Right. If you wake up in the morning wanting to go do something, you don't do it, that can subconsciously have an effect through the rest of your day. So that's huge. I love all of that. Yes.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready for Moab 240. So first off, when is this?
It's October. It's a little more than 3 months away.
Okay, I was just gonna say. So how much time do you have? How long have you already been starting your prep work?
So I did the 100-mile run. Kind of had some shin issues, learning experience, and so I've kind of tapered. But I'm back. I ran 10 miles today, so I'm back on it. It never really stopped.
Are you doing? What are you doing as far as muscle conditioning? You said your shins hurt.
So that I got a tib bar. And so addressed that right away. And I had no other issue,
you got one of those things.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because I was going to say that's the perfect device to get.
Right.
Wow.
So now, what is that?
So
it's like,
go for it.
It's a device, right? And it's for your shins. They developed it a few years ago. Like ATG promotes it a lot. Knees over toes guy. But it's a device where you put a pad over your you put a pad over your toe, and it's just for your feet, and it's so you can lift to have that dorsiflexion of your foot, so you can lift up your foot and work out the tibial aspect of your shins, like where you get shin splints. It's that muscle right there.
Right, gotcha.
It's a really important muscle when it comes to running, but it's probably the most effective way to activate that muscle that's probably the best exercise. Easily.
What's funny is that's the first thing that I feel and bothers me if I haven't played basketball for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I get around, I get to run in and shoot and stuff like that. That next day, that whole line of it is just like tight
and all that other stuff. Right. But that's not only good for your shins; it's also very good for your knees as well.
I got to look into this knees over toes guy, because I've had a couple people send it to me because of my patellar tendonitis that I have, and they were saying, this guy's workouts and stuff like that is going to completely eliminate all of that you have going on there.
I can 100% testify for that.
Really?
I'm doing I wrap my ankles. It's called ankle flossing. I do that almost daily.
Yes, ankle flossing.
Improve my running. It's improved. I still play basketball on Fridays, and the shiftiness that I have on the court, I don't think I've ever.
I love that.
I don't think I've ever been that free.
Really?
Oh my goodness. So the people who are listening in, ankle flossing and even knee flossing is when you wrap your ankles with a resistant type of tape, bandage tape on your knees. And you wrap them up and you kind of do exercises with that to try and mobilize all of the tendons and the muscles around it. And it kind of just strengthens, stretches, and just releases a lot of the tension that goes on in there. It's like a 3-in-1 effect. So it's like a wrap, you put it around your ankles, and you could do exercise that if you have somebody to do it for you, you can do exercises, balance exercises on it, the dorsiflexion, and even with your knees, like you can kind of do a little bit of squats with it, just like to kind of loosen up all that tightness and break it up a little bit. Like, awesome, I love that. That's really another effective exercise as well.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
You said tid bar?
Yeah, tib bar. I would put the floss above the tib though.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to show me one day. You got to show me how you wrap your ankles with it, because I have two bands that I bought. Man, I don't know how many years ago, and I have not used them at all yet.
Are they the black and red ones, or which ones?
They're blue and red.
Okay.
It's blue and red.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you a video. I think
yeah, for sure.
I've made a video and I sent it to one of my other friends too. So if I still have it, I'll send it. If not, I'll give it to you.
So, I mean, side tangent. How old are you turning, KJ? How old are you right now?
Whew, I turn 40 next month.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen, man, the reason why I asked that is because with this information and what you're doing right now, man, this is incredible. I mean, you can change the game, you know, for people in their 40s. You know what I mean? Like what you're doing right now is building your body to sustain impact that normal 40-year-olds won't have.
Right.
And this is something that I've been preaching on, and I haven't executed it to the degree that you are, but this is super inspiring. But time, when we're talking about time and people who get older, it's just the amount of time you haven't used your muscles or conditioned your muscles. When you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Right.
But if you can build it and keep on going, you can pretty much accomplish a lot more than you think you can, and even at a later age. And so with all of that you're doing, Kev, you're really putting 40 years of 40 years old, and you're 40 years young, right?
Well, I was just going to say that's the difference between 40 years old and 40 years young.
Yep.
Redefining age, you
Right.
know, staying limber, just continuing to condition, because when we're kids, our tendons, our muscles are just all fresh, right? And what happens is we don't keep them fresh, you know, after all that use and abuse, wear and tear, we don't ever condition those muscles.
We take advantage of it in a negative way.
Exactly. Right. So we don't use it until things start hurting, and then we wonder why things are hurting.
How many times you guys show up on the basketball court and didn't stretch or warm up or nothing?
Man.
Just got out there and started shooting. You know what I mean? Like going to the gym, you don't warm up or nothing. You just start lifting weights or, you know, whatever it is.
Even
you know,
after the fact.
And after the fact, that's just as, if not more important, right?
Man, I don't know how many times I could tell you that going after, even overseas, you know, I just wanted to get home, right?
Yeah.
So like this,
Exactly.
Man, I'm not going to stretch today, and I paid for it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's those little things that you don't want to do that are important for your goal, for achieving those goals. I mean, right on, my man.
I'm just trying to get better still. I don't want to peak out.
But that's the thing, though. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Right.
Oh my goodness, my mind is being blown right now.
Right.
But that's what we talked about before, though, right, Sean? There's no destination, right? There's just milestones and growth, right? There's no ceiling, there's no cap to how much you can learn, how much you can accomplish mentally and physically.
Yeah, no destination, new direction, but no destination, and milestones to get to, you know, whatever direction that you're heading to. But yeah, in that, I think that's the problem with a lot of people, and you see people that are in their like 70s and seem like they're in their 90s because they're just not doing anything with themselves. We talked about it before. I told you the story of the lady at the grocery store. You know, she was 98 years old and she was walking around doing laps around the store every single day. Yeah. And, you know, especially nowadays, you can go online and you can see videos of people in phenomenal shape doing crazy things in their 60s. You know, also, I mean, think about it. Even somebody like,
said, right?
But yeah, exactly. The opposite effect. Because even people, you know, we were talking about Cam Hanes, who's in his, you know, mid 50s, right? People like Joe Rogan, who are in their mid 50s. Those guys are in 100 times better shape than I am, and I'm in my late 30s. And they're in better shape than a lot of people, you know, some people in their 20s, you know what I mean? It's all a matter of how you take care of yourself, the things that you were doing. You know, love him or hate him, not talking about his game or anything like that. But I heard this story about LeBron James a long time ago that said that it was something like he pays over $1 million a year into his body. Of just all different types of nutritionists and trainers and all these different programs that he does to take care of himself and keep his body in physical peak condition. Man, and again, how old is he? He's like 39, right? He's something like that.
39.
Is he 39? Turns 40 this year.
39, 40, something like that.
Yeah. And if there's no other accolade that, because the comparison Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. And the whole draft thing was rigged in a way, but I'm not mad at it, right? Because his son got drafted to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Right? So it was rigged, but however, I'm not mad at it.
The NBA rigged?
What?
Never.
But the thing about it is LeBron James deserves that. Because of what he's done to his body and how he's been able to last long enough to be able to be put in the position to have the opportunity to play with his son.
That was retirement.
That fact alone. That fact
well
alone
into your retirement years, right?
Yeah, for sure. That fact alone is going down in history, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
right?
me too. It's
There's
pretty
Good for
cool.
them.
It's cool.
Good for them.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, for you to play with your son,
Right.
I mean,
Man.
come on.
At the pinnacle, the peak of it all, right? This is the Mecca.
Absolutely.
We're in the NBA together. This is what, when you're, a little kid, people in that world, when they're little kids, that's what they're dreaming about. That's what the goal is, to make it to the NBA. Can you, and then once you have kids, you get older, you have kids, and your aspirations and your goals and your dreams kind of change a little bit. But I don't think anybody would really dream about playing in the league or doing whatever it is at the highest level with their child, right?
Right.
You may think that this would be great for them to come and rise to this level too.
Yeah.
And it would be awesome if we could get them to that level and get my son to play in the NBA or something like that. But nobody's thinking about playing at the same time with their kid.
Same time,
So
same team.
that's crazy.
Right. It's incredible.
Crazy.
It's
So
incredible.
good for them, man. So again, that's why I wanted to say, aside from what people want to say about the game, about his game, about him, or whatever the case is, like you said, being able to take care of yourself to that degree for that long and still be able to show up and perform and be considered one of the best in the game right now, if not the best overall, right, ever. But to still be there when your son gets there, like that it's just crazy, man. That's phenomenal, and I can only imagine what that feels like, because that I'll never be able to do anything like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel worse for his son. I mean, because it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a big shadow.
However, I mean, they'll find a way to get the job done. But yeah, like you said, man, LeBron James will go down for the person to play the longest in history, and he'll continue to stack points and continue to beat his own record. And in that sense alone, because he's playing longer than everyone else, it's going to be that much harder to beat his record. So, man, you can't take that from him.
Nope.
Kudos to him for that, man. But again, bringing it back to it's the work that he put into himself.
Yep.
The investment, excuse me, the return on the investment that he got is just a plus, right? But he put into all of that. And there's something to be said for that. There's something to be, to see somebody put that type of work into themselves and to reap those type of benefits. You can't deny it.
But it's the same mentality that KJ's talking about, right? Continuing to get better, right? You're just trying to every day just continuing to get better. And that's where people start dying, right? It's when they stop working. It's when they stop trying to get better. And that's what happens with a lot of people in the league, for better or worse, depending on circumstances. People get injured, have career-ending injuries, and don't have that opportunity. But at the same time, what led to those injuries, we don't even know. In some cases, if it was self-inflicted, meaning, did you take care of your body enough? Because I know I didn't. That's why my career ended earlier, and I didn't get to a level that I expected to get to because I didn't do those things, right? It's a different mindset. I just wrote this down because I just heard this the other day, but he began with the end in mind, right? So meaning we all have an expiration date A lot of us wait too long to start cooking before that expiration date starts coming, and that's where we don't think that expiration date is going to eventually come, but that day is going to come. So a lot of us don't think about the end when we're in the beginning stages of our lives, right? Or at least at a stage to where we can make a bigger difference, or we can still make an impactful difference, right? So beginning with the end in mind was something that I just learned the other day, and that's what KJ is talking about. That's what LeBron James is doing. They're continuing to work, and see how much better they can get. You know, maybe they're not thinking with the end in mind, but they're thinking about how much better they can get versus like, oh, I'm good. Like, you know, I've already made X amount of money. How much money has he made? He could have quit a long time ago, right? But he's still fulfilling his purpose, right? He's still doing what he needs to do as LeBron to continue fulfilling his purpose. Because you think about a lot of people who retire, and I know even with some of the clients that I have, they're not happy. Unless they're doing something, they're just sitting around. They're not happy, and they're at home just wasting away.
And why do you think that is, Kyle? What is it that they're not happy about?
They're not happy with what they're doing. They're not fulfilling any purpose anymore.
They
right?
didn't do enough work. They didn't put in enough into life, or whatever it is that they were doing. They didn't do right. Bringing that back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, depending on that circumstance, their circumstances, right?
Right.
Like,
I don't feel like I have enough time because I didn't do enough. I have more to do. I should have. You know what I mean? As opposed to, I've lived a good life. I've done a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've seen a lot of things.
But even so, you can retire, right? You can retire. Of course, but if you don't have something that you're going to be doing that's going to give you joy, that's when you start wasting away. Because I have a client who's retired from business, but he's still doing things, serving he's people.
Still at the gym,
right? Exactly. He's still doing things to help better himself in a lot of those situations, and he's very different from other people, because a lot of people who are older and that are in the gym are in there because they have to be, not because they want to be. Medical conditions. Or my doctor said I needed to get in there. My wife said I needed to do it. Right. And so for that, it kind of changes the approach of it, right? And so they're not as happy as those ones that are in there to be living, the ones that are happy to be doing
there
it.
To better themselves.
Exactly. So it's those type of things. That's a good point. Yeah, so it's those type of things that we have to stay we have to stay active so we can keep our minds going, to stay fresh, to feel like we have purpose, to feel like, okay, like I'm still giving to the world. And it's subconscious. It's a principle of the world, right? You may not feel it, you may not know it, but it's a principle. Like, if you do it, this is what happens. If you don't, this is what will happen. Right. So it's kind of ingrained in our DNA as to how we're supposed to be living life in general. All right. So Kevin, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, is there a different mental approach to this race with it being 20 miles longer? I know the factors are going to be, I know you have different factors that are playing into this,
right.
Heat, elevation, stuff like that. So what's the preparation? How is the preparation going to be different from last time's preparation?
So I'm same kind of thing as Tahoe. I'm incorporating more weights, probably a little more mental side, like meditations in the morning. I would do that, meditations at night, and just treat it like my job. This time around, I'm putting it out there. I'm trying to run a sub 80, so 80 hours. Where Tahoe, I ran 99 hours. So I'm trying to be faster.
And man.
For a longer distance too. That's
man, you're really inspiring, KJ. Oh my goodness, you're so inspiring. First, I have two things. First, do you do any swimming training?
No swimming training.
Okay. I'd be interested to see if that would help on your endeavors, because it's very good for endurance and very low impact.
Right.
And it's very good for cardio and conditioning. So it might be, aquatics might be good, especially because you're a runner.
Yeah,
that might be something you might.
Bike riding is
trying to incorporate.
Similar to, right?
Absolutely, all of it, all of it.
Triathlons and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I want to go back and talk about how, for those who didn't see the first episode of you being on here, of how you started this, because I want to emphasize how important it is to set goals, right? Because goals are equivalent or coincide with milestones, accomplishments, right? You've already reached 50 miles, right? So you go on to the next thing, 100 miles, okay? Next, 150, 220, and now you're on 240. And the fact that you started at somewhere is to where you were able to get to where you are now. So can you kind of like give us a refreshing idea of how you got to start running?
Right. Yeah, I kind of did it a little bit backwards. So I signed up for a 200 before I did 100, before I did 50, before I did,
Okay.
yeah. So I figured I wanted something that was just going to scare me to death type thing.
And I have something to say about that too.
Go for it.
Man, oh my goodness. So we talked about this too as well, Sean, and a lot of successful people talk about this as well. I'm glad that you started. I think that people should almost try and work backwards with the proper mindset, right? Because it's like what I talked to you, Sean, about driving from San Diego to the Bay versus driving to LA. Like you set your mind for a certain amount and you try and achieve that. But if you don't, you still maybe have done more than what you would have set if you were limiting your expectations, right? So
Yeah.
when I'm driving from San Diego to the Bay, it's an 8-hour drive, right? I'm already have that in my mind, 8-hour drive, because I have the Bay in mind. My drive from San Diego to LA is quick. It's super quick versus if I have my mind set on LA driving from San Diego, it may not seem as quick
That ride
of
takes
a drive.
forever.
It takes a lot longer because I have that in mind. So starting backwards almost kind of like pushes your body to achieve more than what you thought you could achieve. Because now you're expecting something higher, but not settling for less is lack of the wrong term.
Right.
Because you're not essentially settling for less, but you're settling for something better than what you would have settled for had you not chose something higher, if that makes sense. So I like that idea. I think like it's a very effective concept to have. Starting higher is kind of just going to push your body a little bit more to see how well you can do versus like, okay, well, I'm just going to start at the 50, because how well did you do on that race?
No, I DNF'd. And
You got hurt.
You did not finish.
No.
Well, how many miles did you get?
Okay, so I signed up for the 200, and then I told myself, well, maybe I should test some things out. So I did a 50K, then I did the 200. And so on
Okay.
the 200, I got 72 miles in. But like what I got from it, like I knew the end goal was to run a 200. And like not even the end goal, like because there's still so much more that I'm trying to do with this 200. But I knew that I wanted to run a 200, and the only way I was going to figure out how to run a 200 was to throw myself in that fire. And like you learn so much. And
What is this? What am I looking
Right.
at? What am I
where
doing
can I
here? Yeah.
improve? What are
Right.
people doing
I
out
like
here?
that. It already it set you up. It set you up for that environment, right?
Right.
It's the pre-stress adaptation theory, right?
Right.
And so your body adapts, to the stress that you put upon it, right?
Right.
So if you're putting maximum stress on it, you already put yourself in that in that environment,
Right.
versus like Mario Kart, starting on level 50, right? 50 cc's. The speed and the environment and just everything is the not the strategies, but the elements in that race are going to be a lot different than
Right.
the 200 race,
Right.
right? So you've already exposed yourself to a lot more than what you would had it
Right.
started on a lower race.
Yeah, and looking back on it, I think, I mean, the hindsight, right? But I think, man, I dropped out too early. Like I let the mental game beat me, and like just how I was training for it. So big learning experience, and like the biggest thing is I got it in my wallet right here. So this is the biggest thing that I took from it. So right here. So this is my DNF bib. So I carry this with me wherever I go because
That's awesome.
that feeling of dropping out is like something that just sticks with me. And it was something that I thought about constantly while training. Like I don't
That,
want to
but
feel like
doesn't that
that.
Yeah, but doesn't that tie
Right.
into what we just talked about? The
Yeah.
pain of regret
Oh
or the
man.
pain of growth,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you got
I
that
love
you
that
got
you did that though, man. I love that you use that as motivation and drive because some people can really let that overwhelm them. That
Right.
feeling of, I'm not good enough or,
Right.
I can't do that. I didn't even get halfway there and I had to drop out. Like, what you just completely give up and not try and get deterred by something like that and stop trying in other avenues of life too,
Right.
right? That could be a really crushing and defeating in more ways than one, something that happens to you, man. So I love that you were able to, like I said, use that as motivation and use it as fuel to, like you said, I'm not going to feel that ever again.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
I'm going to put in this work and I'm going to do better and I'm going to make sure no matter what the outcome is, I'm not going to feel like that ever again. That feeling of failure, like you said.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a great success tip, for all of us, right? I mean, keeping that thing close because what does it do? We talked about this before, Sean. We get on here and it's like we get the juice from it, right? We get the flow. We're hyped up, you know what I'm saying? And it lasts for an X amount of time, and then life continues to happen, and it's like, well, where do I get my next fix, right? And so it's a fresh reminder. You having that in your pocket, it's a fresh reminder of that feeling you have. It kind of like takes you from straying away and then bringing you back to focus. It keeps you from falling off track, falling so far off track, and putting you back in that concentration zone. Because it's something. The success tip is to keeping your mind fresh of what stimulates you, of what is going to stimulate your success or will stimulate your growth, and that's helping you keep yourself reminded of how you felt. And it's like, no, like I got this. Oh, you boom, see it. It's like, no, boom, this is how I felt. I got to keep pushing. And then it's like it's one of those mental tactics for all of us that we need to keep on pushing forward, so we don't allow the enemy to distract us off what's important. Love that.
Yep. Yeah,
So go ahead.
it's been a big I mean that right there is so on that Tahoe 200 run the second time, um, different mindset, looking at the starting of calm, everything. That first day went perfect. And then towards the end of the first day, I sprained my knee and it doubled in size. And so like I was running in the
Wow.
top 30 group. Like I was doing really good from where I was the year before to this next year. I was doing great.
Yeah.
I was having a good race. My body was feeling great. And then I sprained my knee. And I remember telling my wife coming into that aid station mile 70, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And like, she's like, just take a nap. So I slept in the back of a truck, slept for about an hour, maybe even less than that. And then I sprung up and I was like, let's go. Like, I'm good. Like my knee
Yeah.
wasn't good. My knee had doubled in
Yeah,
size,
yeah.
but
But mentally,
just
So
that
you were mentally
I was
tired.
remembering every way, like I was like, I'm gonna do this whether I break my, whatever happens, I'm doing this because I remember what I felt like when I DNF'd, and if I DNF again, I can't deal with that pain of
yeah.
dropping out and all that work that I put in. Like I deserve to be out there, and so
Right.
sprained my knee, and then the second day I rolled my ankle, and so my ankle is the size of a softball, and it was
Same
just
leg?
like, oh yeah, same leg. And so
Oh
yeah, so the
gosh.
knee I slipped on snow, I just hyperextended, sprained it, and like so every
Yeah.
step was just excruciating, pain. And then the ankle, I just rolled it. I think it was because of the knee. And then on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last day, I tore part of my calf, and so like
Same leg?
Same leg. Same leg. Yeah.
Chop it off at that point.
Like getting out of the aid station was
man.
so painful. My wife was there with the kids. My mother-in-law was there, my brother, and then his family was there, and they would get me out of an aid station, and I was hobbling like the Tin Man. It'd take about like 20, 30 minutes for the body to get warmed back up. But I remember coming into an aid station, and I'm on my brother's shoulder going to the truck, and this lady says, you gave it a good try. And I just kind of looked at her. And then my brother says, she thinks you're quitting. And I was like, yeah, like, no, like, I'm still in this. She's like, no, you gave it a good try. And so I saw her at the next aid station, and I still remember the look that she gave me. Like, holy shit, this guy, he's still going. Like, I was bad off.
Yeah.
But just that little, I mean, I used her as fuel. Maybe she wasn't thinking that.
Yeah.
But in my mind,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she thinks I'm
Right.
dropping out. And I was like, no, I put in this work. I got that DNF last year. I'm not doing this again. That still brings me back. And just my brother saying that lady thinks you're going to drop out. Like,
Yeah, right.
It was
right.
what I needed
that
at that moment. Yeah.
Yep.
Because, man.
So that's wild to even think about, the mental, how tired you were mentally, right? At the end of that first day, and questioning how you were going to do it. I don't think I can make it type of thing. And just getting that little bit of rest and waking up and saying, nope, like, let's go recharge that battery a little bit. Physically, you were in the same condition, probably if not even a little worse after your body got to calm down. The adrenaline's gone a little bit, you're trying to get yourself back up and get back going. But mentally, you were back there. That like you said, you were reminded of what it was that you were there for, that feeling that you had in the past. And it wasn't even a doubt in your mind after that, right?
Yep. Amen. My crew, I think without my crew, I don't finish it. And I think my crew, like my family, I think they saw the look of determination that I had, that they were going to piece me together the best that they can so I get back out there. I mean, they were massaging my calves. They were just trying to get, all the lactic acid, the swelling out of the ankles. And like, without them, I don't complete it. I mean, big part on my mental side.
That's a great point.
Yep.
That's a great point. And, Sean, we talk about this on plenty of times before. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, then you got to do it with the team. And not only just with the squad or a team, but you got to do it with someone who has your heart in mind. You got to do your circle's got to be tight knit. You got to have the right circle, right, that have your best interest. Otherwise, you got one of those, because
you can only go so far. You can only go so far by yourself.
Weakness, right? You can you're only as good as your weakness. And if you got somebody in there that's plotting your demise, then maybe you don't finish, right? All it takes is one person to sabotage something, and that's just really refreshing to hear that you have a tight unit, and that energy it expresses, right? It's impacted, right? They saw your face and determination, energy that got them juiced up. All right, they're like, he's ready. We're ready to do what he needs to do to get him back out there.
And the bouncing off of each other's energy with that too, right? And like you said, that's why it's so important to have somebody or somebody's in your corner like that, that has that same energy, that has that same aura, has that same goal in mind, and understands their role in it. Because you have to understand, even if you're, if you're at odds with anybody, or if you just aren't working as well with somebody, that's in your mind somewhere, and that's energy that's being put towards that, and not towards what it is that you have going on. So, if nothing else, not having to worry about certain aspects makes it so much easier to just focus on what it is that you have that you're doing, right?
1,000%.
So having that is one thing, and then having them work with you to the degree that they're working with you on that, it's just a like you said earlier, Kyle, a double whammy of success and support that just is so crucial in times like these. Because again, even when it comes to running a race, we're not alone. And the more that we're able to accept people to come in and give us that little bit of aid or that little bit of support or be that little bit of a crutch when we need it, it makes that much of a difference, and we can get that much further because of it.
Yes. Yeah, they were my spark, man. They kept me going. They kept me. I mean, when you run a 200 mile, you chafe, and so they're like
Right.
vitamin. Was that A and D or A and D, right?
Right.
Yeah, oh man, they were rubbing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
all over me, and like places that are you
Up
chafe,
in there.
man.
Up in there. Up in there, man.
They're
And that's,
loved,
I'm
man.
glad you said that, because that is another aspect of running that not a lot of people think about. The wear and tear that your body takes. It's easy to just move in that regard, but for that extended period of time, there are consequences
Yes.
to it. Blisters on your feet, chafing throughout certain areas,
Right.
that make the process of running very unpleasant.
Oh my
And that's
goodness.
another mental aspect of it. You have all these mental it's kind of funny to say you have these mental milestones in a
Right.
negative way, these mental hurdles actually that you have to get over throughout the race. It doesn't stop even after the finish line too, right?
Right. Oh,
Man,
100%.
yeah.
Yes.
I think that I think that is so powerful, because we don't think about all of the intricacies that goes on in our minds, right? We can only, what's the best example that I can explain? You could be mad about something, right? Or rather, it may seem you could be mad about something, but there could be so many things that affected your mindset before that one thing that made it seem like it was the it. But there are so many other things that happen in our mind that contribute to the mindset that or the current state that we're in right now, right? So what's like what you talked about, right? What attention are we? Where is the focus of attention being put, right? If you're thinking about, oh, this person right here just kind of like wasn't for me, or we just got into it, and now I'm thinking about that. That's going to play in to the focus and the energy, right? That's something I'm going to be worried about, not worried about subconsciously, but it's going to subconsciously affect your game, to put it right, or affect your performance rather. So that's really important to think about, because there's a lot of things that we're affected by on a daily basis that we really don't really understand, because there's so many thoughts going in. I mean, how many thoughts a day?
Oh,
There's
my
at
God.
least 75,000 thoughts on a daily basis, right? I mean,
For
think
the,
about
like
this.
the average person, because I'm at least
70
10,000.
No, 75,000. Yeah,
100,000
70
for me.
Exactly.
I'm up there,
And-
man.
Right. And so, like, just think about like 75,000 thoughts. I mean, that's a lot of thoughts. I mean, majority of them are going to be the same, but I mean, that's a lot of
Right.
thoughts
I
to
remember
be
hearing
thinking
that
about.
there was a lot of recycled or
Recycled thoughts.
circled thoughts,
Which is why it's important for KJ, like KJ did, putting that thing in his pocket, right? I mean, it's just it's the
Have those
average,
reminders.
right? To have those reminders because of those other thoughts, and that's why habits are just hard to change, and every behaviors are hard to change, because it's in our thought cycle and what we think about on an average.
In
Right,
prime
so-
example, like we said, knowing your triggers in a good way and knowing your triggers in a bad way, that's a trigger. That's a good trigger that you can have set that reminder for you, that will give you that boost, re-energize you, recharge your battery a little bit,
Right.
refocus your mind on the prize, and get you going at times that you may not feel like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
So that's awesome,
absolutely.
man. So you got your team, helping you out with that aspect of it. The prep work through trial and error. So what are some other aspects of it that you have to deal with? Like, you're running for obviously a long period of time. What are you able to eat and drink while you're doing this?
Well, so the first day I had a lot of gels. They sell gels like Hammer Nutrition. That just doesn't work. And my wife, we joke about it a lot because I keep trying to make it work, but it just doesn't work because you're out there so long. You have to start eating real food. And
Right.
and that, like you say, oh, easy. Pizza, that's easy to eat. But like when you're out there, it's hot, you've been running that long, and you need to eat, your body is just like, if I eat that, it's
It's
not
hard
staying
to eat.
down.
Yeah.
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 And so having the crew, that helped out too, because there was a few stretches where I went 18 miles and maybe I had like 200 calories, maybe. And so I was just kind of loopy, and I was at a calorie deficiency where I need to put something in. And I got
Right.
to this one aid station, and my wife and my brother were there, and I hadn't eaten in like the last, I don't know how many hours, but definitely over 18 miles. And I remember there's a picture of me, and I'm just pale white. I'm pale white, and I throw up, but I have nothing to throw up, and it's just the bile from
Oh, I
the gut.
hate
Yeah.
that. That
And so,
dry
yes.
heaving.
Oh,
Ribs are caving in.
but then my wife or my brother, I forget because really out of it, they got me some top ramen, and I had that, and it's just instantly brought me back to life. And so that's a big thing that
Probably that
I'm
sodium.
still, yeah, oh yeah, the sodium, the carbs. I'm still trying to
Yeah.
figure out the dance of, what works well. In this last 100 mile I ran, top ramen seems to be the easy one to put down. And so I'm going to incorporate that in Moab.
What do you use for your your rehydration drinks, or of any type of beverage do you use?
Yeah, so they have like Hammer Nutrition. They have a Heed drink as electrolyte drink. I'll also use like electrolyte tablets. And, when you run for so many hours, so say past the first day, your mind starts to forget, did I just take pills, electrolyte pills
Yeah.
an hour ago, or was that 10 minutes ago? And so I set up reminders now on my watch.
Yeah.
Just, every 20 minutes, eat. Every 20 minutes, drink. Every hour, take your electrolyte pills.
Have you ever tried liquid IV?
Yeah, oh yeah. I just got some today. I use that for
Oh,
my
man.
post runs.
Yes.
Yeah, right,
Liquid
yeah.
IVs.
Yep.
I am the worst cramper you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I know I found out that's one of my favorite for myself. Liquid IVs is the best rehydration.
You're a big
thing for me.
sweater too, so I think that
Yes.
probably has a lot to do
Electrolytes.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your body's just
you can't-
burning
you can't
through
be
all
sweating
that.
too.
I'm sweating right now, man.
right.
It's like 100 degrees over here. I'm in the gym.
I
There's
think it's
no
a
AC.
basketball player thing, man. It's
It
got to be a
must be.
basketball player thing. You always see people at the line just dripping as soon as
Dripping.
they stop
Right.
moving.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how it is.
Okay. So, wow. So that was a great question. So you can only eat and drink so much, of course, because your body has been pushed past those limits. It's been exhausted.
Right.
Right. So depending on what you put in your body, like, that's definitely coming up.
Yeah.
So what is the recovery aspect like when it's all said and done?
Yeah, it's different. On the Tahoe 200, I was out. I was out for a good chunk, like maybe 3 weeks, a month, where I was just sore.
Right.
I did a lot of ice. I did a lot of compression pants. This last 100-mile run, so I had no other issue, which I'm really excited about, other than my shins. Like everything else in my body felt great. My mind felt great. So I was happy about that, but my shins were definitely something that I've never felt that kind of pain. It was like a hot knife on the lower part
Hot.
of,
I was just gonna say that the heat.
yeah, unreal. Like my 15 miles to go is when it really like kicked on, and I was like, oh my God. But for recovery, a lot of band flossing. I did that around the shins. I did it around the ankles. And so I've bounced back. I think it was like 2 weeks for this 100-mile run, where now I don't feel that shin pain anymore. I'm still back out. Like I played basketball the following week after the 100-mile run. I was sore though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just comes with the territory, I think. I think no matter what I do, when you run 100 miles, 200 miles, you're going to feel some kind of soreness.
Yeah, now you know you've ran enough different things that you know that there's there's a give and take in it, and
There's pain coming,
that take
man.
at the yeah.
And let me speak on this because with those 15 miles to go, I was in a dark hole on that 100-mile run. I knew I was going to finish it, but I didn't think I was going to finish it strong. And it's nighttime. I didn't sleep, so I went full, 20 plus hours no sleep, and I'm feeling dark, feeling down by myself out there on the trail, and the sun started to crest up, and it's like something switched in my head. And I was like, well, let me try running.
Yeah.
And I started running. And for the last 10 miles, I ran a 10-minute mile pace, which is crazy. And I'm really excited.
Wow, the whole 10 miles?
Yes. The last 10 miles, I ran a 10.
After running
after
90.
90. I was really excited about that because
You were in the zone.
it was in the zone.
Booking.
Yeah. And I was passing people, which I care less. Like, I want to do my best performance for me. Pass people, that's
Right.
great. But, like, the way my body was moving, it was like something clicked. And I remember I still had that sharp pain in my shins. And I just remember I kept telling myself, I'm the master of this pain. This pain is not real. Like I tell myself when I go, and I just kept like almost singing it to myself. Like this pain means nothing. Like I'm going through it. And I'm telling you, when I say a hot knife, it was like the shins were ripping off. It had that feeling.
Right. Who's going to carry the boats?
Dude, it was one of the most like I've never been able to turn that kind of pain into something like inspirational for myself, and that was like a connection moment.
Yeah.
Right. So, speaking of who's going to carry the boats, David Goggins and we were talking. I brought up Cam Hanes earlier. They run this type of stuff. I'm pretty sure
Yes,
David Goggins finished like second or something like that last year, or the year before, or something like that. He was up there.
Yeah.
Do you see these guys or other top runners that you may know of? Do you see them when you're doing this?
I mean, I've seen him at the start
At
line.
the beginning, right?
I never ran a race that Goggins did. He did some run out here where I live, and I went there and I got to meet him, and he is who he is. He's a bad
He's
dude.
intense.
Yeah,
I bet.
he's so cool. Like his energy, his aura, to be around it is what you think it is.
It's probably inspiration and strength and
Yes.
like it's a different just intensity.
Yes.
Like he's an intense
Bro,
dude.
I had to. So I follow
it's
I follow a
encouraging.
lot of those type of guys, right? Or I was for a while. I follow Cam Hanes. I'm a big Cam Hanes fan, and I was following David Goggins. But it got to a point where I was like, man, I feel like such a bitch every single time. I can't. This dude is really, really bringing me down. I can't rise up to that level, man. It's so crazy. But I love it. I love it. I'm never mad every time I do come across him.
Right.
But when I was seeing it every single day
It's
throughout the
that
day, I
mirror.
was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I couldn't even look at my phone. When the video would come up, like in case he knows I'm not working out, I'm not trying right now. He's intense, bro.
Hey
He's
man,
intense,
same thing
man. I love
happens
it.
to me. He's on a whole different planet than us, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it, but we need people like that,
Yes,
right? We need people
absolutely.
to see that extreme, to know what we're capable of,
Right.
because you hear a lot of the things the issues that he has. It's not easy for him. It's
Right.
not like he's in great shape and tip top, has nothing wrong, no ailments or anything like that. This dude's knees are non-existent.
Yeah.
Right? He just goes shin to thigh bone. There's no knees there. This dude is in crazy shape. And not in a good way. I mean, in a good way. Obviously, you see him. He's a specimen. But at the same time, what's going on internally, man, he is a mess.
Right.
And the fact that he's able to go out there and do the things that he does, screaming the things that he's screaming, bringing the energy that he has, and getting it done, it's wild, bro. We need that. We need to be able to see that we are capable of more than what we think we're capable of.
Yeah, and that's huge that you said that because it's a frame of mind. The I can't, or I'm not built for that, or I'm not good enough to do that. They're all lies we're telling ourselves. They're
Right.
all lies. If somebody else can do it, if somebody else has done it, it's all possible for all of us. And Kevin, I have to say, man, I'm so grateful for you to come back on here. And this is another one of those situations. It's been a long time since we recorded. And when that happens, everything trying to get to the camera is not always easy. And Sean and I were talking about that before, and even today was like, man, I have so much going on, like, man, but I made a commitment to sitting down, and to hear what you're doing is incredibly inspiring for me, especially being a little bit higher up in age. Right, we're all 38 going into the 40s, but this is the message that I'm trying to send to the people in the world as well. You know, on the physical aspect of mental warfare and all this, but they're all coincides, right? They all go hand in hand.
Right,
They all go hand in hand. But as far as the physical aspect of it, like you're really like showing people your mental strength. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're showing people that I'm about to be 40 and I'm about to do this 240 mile race. Like, I mean, like, come on. Like, that's inspiring in itself.
Has that happened to you guys yet where people will say, well, wait till you turn 40? Like, at first, it was like,
they were
wait
saying
till
in
you
my
turn
30s. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm in my 30s. I'm still doing it. And they're like, well, wait till you turn 40. I'm like,
right.
Well, man,
okay.
see, I hit my 30s. I was like 32, 33, and I was not in good shape. I was waking up in the mornings, and I was, hobbling. My body was killing me, my back, my knees, and everything. And there was a few months there. It was my birthday. It was like my 34th birthday. I woke up on it, and I was in horrible pain. My back was killing me. And I had that thought of just like, if this is how I feel now, how am I going to be when I'm in my like 60s or 70s? I'm not going to be able to move. My poor wife is going to have to, move me around in a wheelchair simply because I just didn't do anything with myself. And I made it a point from that point on. It was like, I'm going to do something every single day.
Yeah, just
something
be consistent. That's it.
And that's it. And it started out as just doing light stretches in the morning, and then I started doing yoga, and then I started doing a little bit of working out, just body weights working out. Building those habits, just doing something. And it wasn't easy for me at first either. Like I said, I was in pain, and my joints were real achy, so I couldn't lift actual weights or anything like that. I could only do like 5 push-ups at a time. Before my elbows started to click and get tight, and it was all these things. So first thing I did was actually change my diet. I was eating horrible, so many, and I still don't eat great, but I eat a lot better. I'm way more conscious of what I'm putting into my body, and the return on that investment, right? But just doing something little every single day. And now I'm at a point where I'm doing at least 100 push-ups every single day, if nothing else, 100 push-ups and 50 squats just to move my body. And it's usually 90% of that is first thing in the morning when I wake up.
But what
I do a light stretch.
I love how you said that though, because your body gets used to what it gets used to. I've said that so many times. It gets used to what it gets used to, and it starts in the morning, right? So if you start out in the morning and you start off lazy, right, that's kind of going to be the preset for the rest of the day. Versus, and I'm speaking from personal experience, right? Versus when I wake up and I get up in the morning, if I do my first workout in the morning, I can probably hit 3 to 5 workouts in a day, probably, just because my brain has been, just because I've been stimulated to do so, ready to go. It's like, man, I'm ready for another workout. A couple hours later, I'm ready for another workout. My body's not prepped for that, but my mind is longer too. Exactly, my mind is. But versus like when I don't get that workout in, now you're entering that laziness, lackadaisical. The muscles are dormant. There's no activation, right? Your brain hasn't been activated. The muscles haven't been activated. And therefore, now I'm moving a little bit slower. Now I'm moving a little bit more. Now I'm not as productive as I would have been had I got my body moving, because it all, like you said, it all comes. They all go hand in hand. So that's huge. Getting used to
just doing those little things. Like you said, to your point, just doing those little things, my body started getting used to moving in that way. Changing my diet, moving my body over time, my body stopped aching so much. I stopped with all those clicks in my joints and stuff like that. And those little workouts that I was doing became a lot easier. doing push-ups in sets of 5 became sets of 10, became sets of 15, became sets of 20, and now I can almost choose where I want to go with, depending on how I'm feeling, and it's not based off of what I'm capable of or not capable of. I can choose whether based off of time or how much I'm looking to do overall. But it feels so much better to be able to choose that, because I am capable and I have a choice of doing those things, as opposed to not being able to do it because my body just won't allow me to do it because I'm not in that type of shape. But to your point, Kyle, everything else in my life started getting easier.
Right.
Getting up in the morning started getting easier. The little tasks, bringing the laundry. So we have 2 flights of stairs, right? Get in the laundry. All our laundry stuff's on the bottom. So from upstairs all the way down, that was such a task before. Now it's easy. I almost, wish I could do more. Doing the lawn, every little task that I have throughout my day, throughout my life, has gotten so much easier just from starting to move my body and take care of myself in that way. Just doing something. And like you were saying, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing how important that was. Like we were saying before, when I was, in my teenage or even in my 20s, I took advantage of being in good shape and never stretched, didn't care what I ate, didn't care about my sleep. Sleep is huge too, right? We take for granted those little things because we don't see immediate results or we don't see immediate consequences from it, because our bodies were capable back then. Like you were saying, we're almost like we were made from just fresh rubber bands. You can pull it and stretch it as much as you want, but when you have an old rubber band, you go to stretch it and that thing will just snap, right? It starts to break in all these different ages. It looks old. Yeah, it's all crusty and dry. That's what it feels like, man.
And doesn't it make the day so much easier when you do a good hard work? I mean, any workout. Like
everything,
the blood flow.
But there's science behind that though, right? It's like we talked about. I mean, that's that rewarding factor that we get, that dopamine rush that we send through our bodies. That's that good that good feeling chemical. And because of that, it sets us in production. It's like, man, I got that workout all done. It's like you're feeling good about yourself versus like, man, I didn't get that workout all done. Now you don't feel so good about yourself. That's negative energy. Right? It bleeds into the next thing, into the next project, into the next task. And then now it's like, maybe there's a little bit of resistance with that versus like, nah, I'm about to go tackle it. I'm about to go knock this out. I got this done. Now I can go get this, and then, man, you know what's crazy? That just came to me. Because I've been thinking about, I was telling Sean, because, I just got back on vacation. And, having to regroup and get back to reality and stuff like that. And the thing is like, now I'm stuck. I was feeling a little like unproductive or unmotivated because of how far behind I am. And so because I'm so far behind, my production level isn't as high as it would have been if everything was on track. Because I didn't do all the things that I wanted to do while I was on this trip, now I'm feeling that negative energy, right? And so where I was going with this is, it's like, I was thinking, today I haven't done it yet, but with all the tasks that we go through on a daily basis, we're going to be a certain amount of tasks, right? But it's important for me that what I'm going to start doing is to prioritizing that task and getting the most burdensome task off my list first, even if that's working out. Right? Because what happens is, if you get that task done, it's like, man, I got that done. It's out of the way. Now I can focus on whatever is next. Versus in the gym is being a high task for myself. If I don't go to the gym, like whatever the case is, right, Sean, whatever the reason it may be, I didn't get there. But even now, my body knows it. It doesn't discriminate for the reason. It doesn't care why I didn't go. I didn't go. Right. And now I'm feeling that pain of regret. And it just, like I said, it just trickles down into all the rest of the things. So keeping your highest burden, I feel like at the top of your priority is key for me. Because then I feel like it sets everything else in motion as well. Working out being one of those high high. What's the word I'm looking for? Just important, most important task of the day, so I can get the rest done. So I love that. Okay, so Kevin. So I have before I know we're running a little bit over an hour, but we're going into July. You said the run is in October. So what is your process look like? Do you have a plan from now until then, or what does that plan look like?
Yeah, I'm ramping up the running right now. So that with 80 hours, putting that out there it's kind of like when I said I'm going to do 200 miles. Like, man, that's a little crazy, but that's what I like. So putting a sub 80 hour 240-mile race, like I want to make sure that I'm putting in the good miles, keep my body strong. So I'm going to continue to do weights and just time hacking my life where I was like, man, how can I get weights in when I sneak in the run? And, I work out early in the morning. I like to get it done early. So I do my runs early in the morning. And by the time I'm done with the run, it's time to go to work. And so I said, well, what if I just do the weights, my dumbbells in the back of the car, and on lunch, 3 to 4 days a week, I just bust it out in the parking lot.
And that's called dedication, people.
Well, and the toughest part about that was, what are people going to say? And I just got past that. I was just like, who cares?
Yes, right.
Who
But
cares?
because look, oh my goodness, there's so much content in this episode. My goodness, how important is that? Because what is that? That's your fear of somebody else's judgment.
Right.
And fear holds all of us back from success. Because what if you would have been like, all right, well, I'm going to feel some type of way about this person looking at me doing some dumbbells. And so now you're that many reps short or shorter from your goal, or that many reps shorter from your growth, right? Or from reaching your potential. That could be the difference between you making that last mile and missing that last mile just because you thought that person was going to make fun of you for doing some weights. But it's inspiring. At the same time, some people will think that it's weird. But at the same time, it's respectable for the right person's eyes. It's like, man, that shows dedication. That shows heart. That shows I'm about this, and that's inspiring. And if somebody has something to say about it, it's only because they can't do it, or it's something that they're struggling with themselves on their own. I mean, we got to think about it. Any judgment or opinion that comes off negative is a reflection of the heart. Right?
Right.
You're either inspiring or you're being
them
envious. Exactly. You be inspirational or you're being jealous, right? So it's one of the two. So I love that you said that, because that just, for all the people out in here in the world, like, stop being fearful of what people think. Stop caring about what other people think, because 9 times out of the 10, they're struggling with the same things that you're struggling with, right? And fear is the number one factor that holds all of us back from being the people that we're supposed to be. So I love that. There's so much juice in this episode. My goodness. I love it. All right.
That's where that nobody cares, work harder comes into play, right?
Yes,
exactly.
sir.
Nobody cares. Work harder.
Yes,
I
sir.
love that. All
So
right,
we're gonna have to reconnect one more after the race. We'll give the live breakdown.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you said that. I was just thinking the same thing, that I wanted to get you back on afterwards to go over everything that we just discussed and how things were on the back end of it.
Reconnecting.
Uh-oh. We're going to get through this whole thing.
There we go.
All right.
Yep.
That must be a sign. Like, all right.
There it is.
Well, maybe.
But no, I was just going to say,
because we're 4 months out, and so I kind of want to see, because I know 4 months is kind of a long time, and so I'm interested to see like what your training is going to be like in 2 months, and so
in the thick
maybe
of it,
we can
I
jump.
like it.
Yeah,
like
so
it.
maybe in a couple of months, right? A couple of months before the race, and maybe even a month before the race. I don't know if you're available, of course. I'd love to get the milestones. Like, I mean, this has got me so hyped up. I wish I can be out there with you. Like maybe that time will come at a different race. But man, like I love what you're doing. It's extremely inspiring. I've said it before, but I want to see what your process is from here until the start of the race.
I like it. We'll do that. And I'm gonna try to film this. I always say like, man, I'm doing these things. I gotta film this, and
Do
not
it.
for.
Do
I
it.
want to do it. Yes, I want to do it for my kids. That's like.
Right.
I want like Tahoe, like they were the fuel. Like I want to do it so they could see, my dad did this, I could do this, or I
Right.
can use this
Kevin,
for the
you
fuel.
have to. You can't say that now and not document it.
All right,
Bro,
You have
listen.
to.
That's
You
why
got to
I'm
make
putting
a
it out there.
documentary
almost-
on this. Yeah.
I almost feel like, I mean, especially if we're on a path and on a mission to do something. Like even for myself, like I've been beating myself up, telling myself up, all right, I'm going to document the process. I'm going to document it. And I think that it's really important, man, because people get to see the process. And Sean, what did we talk about before? A lot of the time on the outside looking in, we only see the result of all the hard work, right? You know what I'm saying? We don't ever see the behind the scenes. Like we don't ever get to see, KJ's knees. He rolled his knee, he rolled his ankle, and his shin splints were all hurting on the same leg. That's intense, right? Can you imagine if somebody saw that? It was like, oh my goodness, and he still did. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, show people your mental strength. I mean, you're inspiring me because, like, I mean, I need to do it. You know, I need to document. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I'm like, do it so I can do it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I love it.
But we definitely need to figure out a date and time a couple of months from now to
Sounds
link
good.
up to see where we're at.
Perfect.
But again, appreciate you, brother, for being on here. You're a complete inspiration, and I
Hey,
hope
you
everyone
guys,
sees and
same
feels
thing,
that.
man. You guys keep staying on the path.
Yes,
grinding.
amen to that. Amen to that.
All right. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.